Today's episode is a special treat. We are talking about how you can reclaim your power as a stepmom and as a person. Stay with us. I'm Cameron. I spent years building my career and creating a life I loved. And when my Prince Charming finally showed up, he had 4 kids in tow. Fast forward through lots of mistakes made and lessons learned, step family life was much more complicated than I realized. If you're looking for help with blended family life, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Stepmom Diaries, where we keep it real as we dish about all the things. This is your weekly dose of blended family inspiration and encouragement. You're not the wicked stepmother, so let me help you find your fairy tale ending. Come on, let's do this. Hello. Today I am talking with the one and only Naja Hall. If you don't know Naja yet, she founded Blended and Black in 2016 as a solutions-based platform dedicated to mending and blending step families. Her goal is to start conversations about broken families and bring awareness to how they affect our community. She provides families and individuals the tools by which they can learn to form a more cohesive system, free of the drama that usually surrounds divorce, separation, and remarriage. Naja runs Blending School. She hosts a very popular weekly podcast called I Know I'm Crazy, which I will link to in the show notes. She has contributed written and video content to 1,000,001 publications, including being featured on NBC, Fox Soul, Good Morning America, Forbes, among others. Naja has a bachelor's from the University of Tennessee in Family and Consumer Sciences and is a family life coach. She is also an active member of the AAFCS and the American Bar Association. Now, Naja provides a ton of resources for blended family members on a couple of different websites, including her podcast, and I'm going to link to all of it in the show notes so that you can find her. And you can find the show notes at thiscustomlife.com/episode 33. Y'all, you'll see when we have this conversation, Naja is truly one of a kind, and we covered all the things in our talk, and it was so much fun. I interviewed Naja in August, right after she had gotten back from a life-changing trip to Africa. And it was amazing to hear about the trip and what she learned. And we ended up, having sort of a free-flowing conversation and delved into racial issues and then high-conflict relationships. And I think we may have hit all the things that you're not supposed to bring up at dinner parties. But Naja has got an amazing mindset and an amazing worldview. And her advice is really kind of always spot on. So I think you're really going to love this conversation. Let's dig in. Naja, thank you so much for being here. So excited to have you.
Hey, Cam. How are you?
Good. And I know you are like getting back into the swing of things after your big birthday milestone.
Oh my gosh. So yesterday was literally my first day back at work, but this is my first podcast. So,
oh, good. Well, I feel honored.
Yeah. And because I was like, I'm on sabbatical. I ain't doing nothing. I literally did
good for you
whatsoever. And I just poured into me. And so I feel different. I feel really happy and relieved and very light right now. So,
yeah,
I think your guests are going to be getting like a new Naja.
I love it.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Well, I do always start by asking my guests for their stepmom story.
Yes.
So tell me how you met Tony. I know you've got 3 stepkids. Yeah. Tell us all the things.
So it was 2013, and one of my girlfriends, I was, living in New York City, living this so-called Sex in the City life, as everybody says. And one of my girlfriends was like, there's a new dating app. It's called Plenty of Fish. And I was like, girl, I don't want to try a dating app. Like, yuck. Like, seedy guys. I'm not looking for hookup stuff. I was super single at the time. And living in New York City, for those of you that don't know, having a car here is a luxury. And it's also a liability because it's just like a hassle to have a car, especially living in Manhattan, living in the city, which is where I live. And my girlfriend was like, Naja, you should get on this new dating app. All the guys on there have cars. And I was like, oh. Okay, shout out to my girlfriend, Trace. She's gone on to become like a super huge superstar right now, but we're still cool. And so I got on the app, ended up meeting Tony, and on our first date, he told me, we had so much in common. You know, we're both athletes in college. We're both the oldest child. What else? His parents are still married. My parents are still married. Like we had so much in common. He was from Little Rock, Arkansas, and I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, two country small
Oh,
towns
real
in the
close.
South.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then on the date, it was amazing. And then he kind of broke it to me. He broke the news to me. He's like, oh yeah, because this was not on his dating profile, y'all. He's like, yeah, I do have 3 kids. And I was like, damn.
That's a big thing to leave off your dating profile, just saying.
I said, you got a whole school bus full of children, honey. And so I think something mentally like switched off in my mind because I didn't think I could do, just like a lot of people. I was like, what do I look like being somebody's stepmama? Like I'm still debating on wearing coochie cutter shorts to work. Like my life was not in the place to be any sort of example to young people. And then just like a lot of people, ladies listening to this, people listening to this, I also had these predisposed thoughts of what it meant to date a person that had multiple children with the same mother, but multiple children. And the first thing I thought about was baby mama drama and child support. And, I
Amen.
used to always think, I was like, all exes are probably still screwing there, just like all these unfounded thoughts. We started dating, we fell in love. Clearly, I got over it and got past it. But all of my fears, Cameron, all my fears started to be real. Well, not all of them, not all of them, but a lot of my fears started to be realized because the drama started. The moment Miss Naja's name and Miss Naja's face and the images of Miss Naja got, like exposed to the other household. Oh my God, honey, it was like World War 15. And
Uh,
it was like that for a very long time until I just honestly decided to take myself out of all of that. I was like, I literally have beef with nobody. Out of, a lot of people in the stepmom space, like I'm cool as shit. If you got beef with me, you got beef with yourself. Cause
I love it.
I don't do that stuff. I pride myself on being a likable person. And one thing that I found with people like me that pride ourselves on being likable is sometimes we don't set boundaries for ourselves. And we allow people to kind of tread on us because we're like, we want to be likable. So, my stepmom
So
story,
true.
meeting my husband, being in this relationship, it's one that has really changed and shaped the trajectory of my entire outlook on human nature, on womanhood, on love, marriage, loyalty, all of that stuff. So that's kind of the short version, Cameron.
Absolutely. No, that's fantastic. And you're so right about the boundaries. It's really hard.
It's
And especially
hard.
as a new stepmom, when you're used to like wanting to get along with everybody, you're trying to get the
Yes.
kids to like you. Maybe you still, there's hope that the ex might like you. And,
Yeah.
really kind of figuring out those boundaries is so
Right.
important.
Right. And boundaries is
Oh,
the B word. It's like my third favorite B word now. But it's a word it's just so thrown around, and I feel like it's almost callous at this point because I see a lot of people giving advice, not just in the step family space, but everywhere. Set up boundaries, set up boundaries. What if you just don't? What does that mean? What does that look like for the individual? What if you have no self-worth, or you have low self-respect, or you grew up with a mother and a father that constantly impeded your boundaries, so you don't even know how to define that? So, hopefully the people that are listening to this would really sit and define what boundaries look like for them based on their own scenario. And not
that's
what somebody
exactly
like
right.
me, is somebody that makes memes all day, tells you.
No, absolutely. That's it. That's so important that it's so unique to the family and the individual and their experience. Um, okay, so how did you decide to get into the stepmom coaching world?
It found me, Cameron. Honestly, you could not have paid me, you could not have given me a glimpse into my life for me to think that I would be, number one, be a stepmom, and then be
I
helping,
know, right?
and then be helping other people, trying to change their perspective and help them with their experience. It literally just started with a Facebook group. I started this Facebook group back after the drama happened. And then I also realized I got to find a way to coexist. Like, this is a great human being. And now I realize I used to think a lot of stuff that I say was exclusive to me and my feelings. And once I started posting it, I saw that there was thousands of other people, individuals, families, couples that could mirror my sentiments. I would say stuff,
Hmm.
people would comment stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, like, are you living my life? Once I realized that my voice was merely a representation for another big group of people, I was like, let me just start doing that. So I don't think it was not something that I set out to do. It genuinely was not. I was in radio, for goodness sake. I moved to New York City to be an actress until I found out I was really bad at playing other people and I can't memorize lines to save my damn life. But
Love that.
so I can truly say it found me. Literally, it just
That's
started from
great.
social media posts. My degree, my education, my bachelor's rather, is in family and consumer sciences. My master's in business, and I'm a certified family and life educator with the National Council of Family Relations. So I did my 18,000 hours strictly focused on blended families. So once I decided that people are looking to me to be an authority, I felt a responsibility to these people. So I went and learned some more, went and got some more education, and it's been a few years now. So here I am.
Yeah, well, we're all glad you did.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. Now tell us, because you are just back from this amazing sabbatical, and
Woo,
and probably a
honey.
lot of people followed your journey on Instagram, and what a meaningful and incredible trip you took. Tell us just a little bit about that. I'm just dying to hear. I've been to Africa a couple of times. I love it, but it looks like you had a really, really meaningful experience
Yeah.
there.
So I, as an African American person, had never one time in my existence ever gone to Africa. Never had the experience. My parents have never been. My grandparents never got to go. My great 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 grandparents, since they were ripped from the land of Africa, nobody in my lineage has been back home.
Mm.
And so my husband, when we were talking, he was like, "Well, what do you want to do for your 40th birthday?" I was like, "Dude, I want to go to Africa. I want to go home. I feel this pull to come to the motherland." Back in 2019, Accra, Ghana, the Ghanaians, which is the first African country to have gained their independence from European rule,
Mm-hmm.
very first out of 54 countries there, all of them have been overridden by the Europeans. Ghana was like, "Nah, buddy, we want out. This is a black land, a land of black people. Like, we want to just figure this shit out ourselves." So Queen Elizabeth, the one that's alive now, this happened during her lifetime. She was like, "All
Mm-hmm.
right, give these people their land back. We've raped and pillaged, taken the resources, taken the people, taken the money, the gold. Do what you want with it." And these people have done what they wanted with it. So in 2019, they did this big push called Come Home. And I'd heard about it, but I wasn't in the mind space back then to even go, because I was like, dude, I haven't figured out America yet. I haven't figured out my own damn house yet, let alone another continent. And so it had always been in the back of my mind that, the first place that I wanted to go was somewhere that would accept us as African Americans. Because the one thing that I was taught and I've seen in the media is that African people don't like African American people. Which now I realize was just a ploy for division. Just like if you look at how systems are set up, the main way to control a system is through religion and through some form of control, which is usually division. Same thing happens in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of our households, y'all. Like, yeah, with these high conflict biomes, but I know we're gonna get into that next. I ain't about to start preaching. So, I felt compelled to go there first, and we got all the stuff done. I didn't know in order to go back to that particular country, we had to take the malaria pills. We had to pay
Mm-hmm.
an international doctor. We had to get the yellow fever vaccine. We had to apply
Oh
for a visa.
yeah.
Like, we had to do all this stuff.
And those vaccines are no joke, by the way. I've taken them and
I had
I've
nothing
had the
happen
shots,
to
and
us.
they are.
Nothing happened to
I
us.
had one of them when I went. My arms swelled up. Like,
Really?
I mean, it was crazy. Yeah,
Oh my
they
God.
are no joke.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So it was, thankfully my husband nor I, we didn't have any complications from the vaccines. I'm probably there. Speaking of the V word. Ooh. So
Yeah, we'll leave that subject for another
I know,
podcast.
please. I don't want the headache from the comments responses that I'll get.
Yeah.
No, so then we decided to go there. When I tell you, Cameron, we got there and it was just such a perspective shift. My entire perspective was changed because I wanted to be educated. I wanted to just be completely open to becoming a student of what these people had to teach us about the heritage that I knew nothing about. So
Mm-hmm.
for example, I never knew. And a lot of people, what I'm finding now is a lot of Americans or a lot of people, Black people from the diaspora, don't know about the history of how all of us Black people left Africa and ended up all over the world. We left because we were taken, we were
Mm-hmm.
captives. And I say we because I look at the people that I'm learning about my ancestry. We were captives. We were sleeping in our damn beds. We were going to school. We were praising and worshiping. And people came from Portugal, um, the land of the Dutch people, Europe, and they were like, oh, look at these brown skinned, dark skinned people over here. They're a lot stronger. They can withstand the sun. We see them as savages. They even convinced the rest of the world that we were not fully human. So they're like, these are closest things to animals. So they roped us up, chained us up, cleaned us up, shined us up, put us on a pedestal in a market, sold us, and shipped us off to the Americas, to Europe, Spain, Portugal, all those places. That's how we got there. And I guess as a kid, I never realized the travesty and the crime against humanity that had happened. And so I got to go to the marketplace when they would take you from your
Mm.
bed and wake you up and say, hey, you're coming with me. You've been sold, or now you're a captive. They marched these people naked through jungles, barefoot, cold. Um, they chained them up. They threw them in the water to wash them off. We went to the place where my ancestors took their very last bath before they were propped up on a stone and sold to the highest bidder. Once you were sold to the highest bidder, you had to go and stay in a slave dungeon. I got to go and sit in the slave dungeon. I got to feel the souls of the
Oh my
ancestors
God.
who I believe have all found their peace now. I got to feel the souls of what happened, and I got to sit in this 25 by 25 room where 250 people had to sit for 3 months. They had to menstruate, vomit, urinate, defecate, all chained together, shackled together in this very small space. And by the way, there was a church on top of the dungeons. And if
Because
you
of course there
survived
was.
that, you had to take the 3-month boat ride to your new destiny. My family's new destiny was a plantation in South Carolina, which I've yet to go to, the Sanders Plantation. So if anybody out there is listening to this, I'm coming to the Sanders Plantation. I ain't paying to get in either because I feel entitled. Damn it. And so being on that trip, and that's not the only thing that happened. I also got to see a different side of Africa. I got to see that ain't nobody, people aren't over there. Like, back in the day, I don't know, I'm probably aging myself, but I'm 40. Y'all know that. We would see these infomercials with these little African kids with flies on their faces, and they have these big bellies, and they would be
the big bellies. Yeah.
That's not what it's like.
No, it's not.
That's
It's really not.
literally, I was like, dude, this is just a mind screw because that's not what it's like. But I do understand the need to have dehumanized such a massive group of people. I now understand the need. I understand who's done it. I understand who's still perpetuating that. And I understand that I've also fallen victim to some of the mindsets of the system of white supremacy and white people being supreme to Black people and people of color. And so, I've really been doing it right now. I've been doing the work with surrounding myself to people that no longer subscribe that anybody is supreme. Not my ass, not your ass, not your ass. Listen, like none of us literally are supreme to the other. And I'm finding that I'm meeting big groups of people that also subscribe to that. And life is just getting amazing for me. How I'm injecting all this stuff in my work is I'm really a lot of the work that I do is helping stepmoms to understand high conflict biological mothers. I was like, these are women that genuinely think they are supreme to me and you because of where we're positioned in life. And so, not to minimize my massive experience over there on the continent, but I'm every single day, I'm finding ways to be like, wow, my understanding of human nature is different. And I'm sure we'll get into that, talking about high conflict biomoms. So if you guys hear me try to juxtapose that and compare it to other types of oppression, I don't want you guys to be offended, but this is just where I am right now today. So I hope you can learn something.
No, I love it.
Because I'm still in the process of learning.
Well, and I think that is such an important statement right there. I'm still in the process of learning because I know for me, when George Floyd was murdered, that was sort of the catalyst.
Yeah.
And I've always had Black friends. I've never considered myself racist. But that I had a lot of educating of myself that I needed to do.
Yeah.
And I've started it, but I don't think that it is it's not a finite process, right?
Hell no,
And
because you
we
gotta do
all
your own
have
learning, you know?
yeah, we all have a responsibility,
We do.
and it's not your responsibility to teach me as a Black person to a white person. It's my responsibility to go and learn.
You know, one thing that I
And
realized though, doing the work that you and I do and having some of the experiences, people really genuinely care. First and foremost, we care about what affects us. Then we care about
mhm,
what affects our household and then the systems that we're a part of. And I realized that it might be a gargantuan request for me to expect a person that does not experience things that I do from the way that I do to really give a damn and make it their mission because
so true.
you have your family that you got to feed over there just like I do.
Mhm,
I've never watched a George Floyd video because I grew up seeing Black trauma porn as a kid. As a kid growing up in Memphis, Tennessee, they took us to Andrew Jackson,
mhm,
the president of the United States of America's home, which was a damn plantation. They showed us
absolutely.
his 14-year-old mistress's quarters, who he impregnated with 6 kids when she was 14 years old and he was 60. And they romanticized that. And so I saw it from one perspective as a kid, but they're still selling tickets to this man's house right now because
Mhm.
it's a historical monument, not a place where we see pedophilia happen because that's what they did. It was accepted at the time. So one thing that I realized, it's tough to get people to care about your thing. There's other huge world issues happening right now. And I'm not going to sit up here and lie, Cameron, like I've done hours worth of research to see and try to understand what's happening to our brothers and sisters in Afghanistan. I just started hearing about it when I saw it on social media, and I've started to educate myself on it. And I think
Mhm.
it's freaking awful. I can truly wholeheartedly say those people's issues, they don't directly affect me. But me being a human being and having compassion for other humans, I care as much as I can. And
Absolutely.
so when I come across, I don't want you to express any sort of white guilt when you're up here talking to me. I love the fact,
No.
yeah, I love the fact that you said it, you acknowledged it. But I'm kind of a person, I was like, people, you have your own struggles. And it takes a hell of a person to just give a damn about something that does not directly affect them. So I commend you for trying.
Well, I mean, that's all
And even
true,
bringing
but I
this
think
topic
we
up.
do as step parents and as parts of families, we have a responsibility to educate our children,
Yes,
and I think that that's where we can kinda go on this journey together, and that's
yes.
we've done that with our kids, and we took them to the African American Museum here in DC, which if you have not been and we went long before any of
Yeah,
the
before it got
stuff last year, but
before pop culture happened. Yeah,
yeah, but it is a phenomenal, phenomenal museum, and we were
yeah,
able and it brings it down to the level that kids can understand, and
yes.
we took them through every floor and talked about the history and the slave ships and,
Mhm.
civil rights and Martin Luther King and,
Right,
we
and
took my youngest stepson to
the
Central
coolest
High in
thing, I
Arkansas,
love
and I mean,
it.
it's important to have these discussions,
Yes.
and
And
that's sort of like our
honestly,
little part of the world that we can impact,
and that's what you
you know?
did. Like Mother Teresa said, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. And part of loving our
Mhm.
family is teaching them how to coexist with their neighbors because I no longer call my ancestors slaves. I call them enslaved people or captive Africans because they weren't damn slaves. They were mothers, fathers, doctors, um, healers that happened to be enslaved. So that's a disrespect. I've tried to go back and correct all my social media, but I was like, those people were not, they were
That's so
branded as
true.
slaves, but I was like, no. So I think just changing words, changing mindsets.
Mhm.
And it's not just a black problem, it's an American history. It's a stain on American history, and it
100%.
still affects black people today. A lot of my white friends, I'm their
100%.
only black friend. A
Wow.
lot of white folks with podcasts, I'm probably the one or two black person that's been on their podcast. And so,
Wow.
when people say and quote unquote the George Floyd thing, when that happened, I probably got 50 or 60 emails with requests to
I'm sure.
be on podcast. And I was like, y'all, come on now. This dude looked like my dad. He looked like my uncle. He looked like my husband, my son. I don't want to talk about this shit with you. Like, It's a hashtag
Yeah.
for you, but I was like, this is a daily fear of mine. So
But it's life. Yeah,
yeah, this is
absolutely.
real life. This is
Absolutely.
not fodder for numbers. So it's an American
Absolutely.
history issue for sure.
It really truly is. And that is something that I hope comes out of
Me too.
not just George Floyd, but,
Yeah.
Armand and,
So
all
much
these
has
other
happened
names
since
that,
he passed away. Since he was murdered, we've had
yeah, so
so many
much.
other popular cases. I mean,
Hmm.
it's just
And people need to know their names,
they
and
do.
history needs to be corrected, because there's a lot that I was taught growing up in the South that,
Yeah.
as an adult, I now look back
I'm
and I'm like,
almost afraid to ask
that's
what
not
you were taught,
exactly how
but
that went.
I'm afraid to
Anyway,
ask. I'm not gonna ask, but I have assumptions on
yeah.
what you were taught. And I congratulate you for being intentional about unlearning and educating other
Hmm.
people. I admire that. I really admire people that can take something that it really doesn't really have a lot to do with them, because you could comfortably avoid all of that stuff. So I really
Absolutely.
admire people that are like, wait a minute, this is some bullshit. So
Yeah.
I think that's a cool thing, which is why I'm on your
Well,
podcast today. So I'm here.
well, I could talk about this forever because I think it's such a big and important topic, but um, let's talk about stepmoms.
Yeah.
Um, you always have golden advice for women dealing with high conflict situations, and we've referenced
Oh,
that a couple of
honey,
times. So
let's get
I
into
know. I
it.
mean, and
If
that's
they're
like,
still listening and they haven't been turned off by our previous topic, if you are still here, girl, you are a real one, and let's go. Let's turn up the heat, Cameron. Let's go.
yeah, yeah, let's do it. So, okay, so you had a high conflict situation, and that's where a lot of your experience came from.
All of it.
So, to the extent that that you are willing to talk about, I know sometimes it's
Yeah.
hard, you don't want to like talk, and I know I have had a high conflict stuff, and I don't
Girl,
talk a ton
ain't
about
nobody
it,
gonna
but
beat my ass. Of
you
course I
know.
can talk about it. Of course.
So, tell us about your situation and some of the lessons that you learned, and
Oh,
how you have counseled stepmoms going through, because I hear from so many stepmoms that that have high conflict bio moms, whether it's a narcissist issue or borderline personality or whatever it is, there's so much.
okay. I guess first, since that's the last thing you mentioned, then let's jump into the personality disorders, mental illness first. I see
Hmm.
a lot of us trying to diagnose because of something we've Googled or found on WebMD or
That
read
is
a
so,
book
that is
or
such an
whatever.
important point.
Because it's something that we literally Google and we're like, oh my God, that's her, that's her, that's her. I'm not a licensed therapist, so I am not qualified to diagnose anybody with anything. However, I have Google just like the rest of y'all. And I have experienced, where I'm going with this, and I have experienced what appears to be the fallout of a woman's trauma and a woman parenting and existing 1000% just from a place of trauma, and then trying to
Hmm.
project that trauma onto other people. That's how the conflict existed in our situation. If you would have asked me this years ago, I would have said it way different, but I have a level of compassion now for people that exist. They wake up, eat, sleep, drink, breathe their own traumas. They taste their egos for breakfast and they re ingest it and they relive their past, that unhealed piece of their past over and over again. You and I both know some people that 1000% solely exist in that space. And so when we start experiencing the conflict, I took it all as I'm offended. This is nothing to do, like, I'm not a bad person. I've literally done nothing to you. I did not take your man. I have not hurt your kids. I've not said anything
Just
to you.
existing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so when the proverbial shit hit the fan, it was kind of like I had to look into myself, Cameron, because the first thing I did, I think maybe as a former people pleaser, I'm a person that has a very mother with a huge, almost oppressive personality. And so I think if you're a kid raised like that, you're taught that your voice doesn't really matter and
Hmm.
your needs don't come first. And so I really had to do the work on my own to be like, Naja, you are the bomb. You are important. You're the leading lady of your life. And if anybody comes near you trying to rip the rug from under you, they don't belong here. And sometimes you got to fight for yourself. And I'm a firm believer in fighting for yourself. And yes, that means putting up boundaries. Yes, that means restraining order. Yes, that means straight up sometimes telling your spouse, you need to check yourself and your situation, or I'm not going to be around,
Mm-hmm.
or your partner.
But what a powerful point that you've got to do the work on yourself
It's all about you.
before you can address the stuff that's going on. And somebody may be being truly horrible to you, like truly horrible to you, and you've done nothing wrong, but you've got to figure out how to address them with compassion and kind of check the way that you're handling it.
Yeah. And the first thing I did was show myself grace, understanding, and compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Naja, why are you so taken out of sorts from this stranger danger? Why could somebody that you don't even know, that doesn't give a damn about you, that has told you they want to hurt you, why do their words mean so much to you? And I really had to just come back and unpack and peel back some layers on myself, and took a grand look in myself. I had to repackage myself, rebuild myself, so that I became this impenetrable machine. Now, the people that love me, they can penetrate me. But the people that don't, they literally have no effect in my life. So I'll say this, like, if you're listening to this and the sound of my voice, then if she bothers you, or they bother you so much, make sure you check and unpack the reasons as to, why am I so affected by this person who I know damn well doesn't like me? Like, if I was laying there dying, they wouldn't help me. Why does their word, why am I so impacted by this?
I love that. And then once you can kind of figure out why, you can address that.
Exactly.
And then it'll help you kind of not be as bothered by what they're doing, and kind of let it go a little bit.
Yeah. A lot of stepmoms are filled with fear. They live fear-based lives. And, I know they're probably, some of them have been in physical altercations. Some stepmoms, they feel anxiety when pick up and drop off day happens. Some will refuse to go to school events because they've been made to feel so unwelcome. But all of these are feelings of rejection and fear, and they appeal to our egos. And so if we look like, and I can't stress this enough, looking within ourselves, because, spending a lot of time on a high conflict bio mom, that's like pissing in the wind, as the country folks say. I'm sure you heard that. You're a country girl.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like pissing in the wind. So you're spending a lot of time on something that is of no consequence, because she's going to be who she is. She doesn't want to change. You damn sure are
not changing for you.
To elicit change. No matter how good you treat her kids, no matter how good you treat her ex, literally, there's nothing that you, stepmom, can do to elicit change in a person that's committed to thinking that you are this awful being. And so, number one, you pour into the people that are pouring into you. You show love to the people that are showing love to you. And for a lot of us, that means being new, becoming new beings. That means I got to be a new person now. I can't just take crap. I can't just let a person come and impede my space and it's okay. I might have to be a so-called bitch. She's gonna think you're one. She thinks you're one anyway.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing you can.
And then if you do that work on yourself and can kind of reset the way that you're thinking, and you still decide that you shouldn't be going to school events, you still decide that that's not appropriate, that's okay, because that's what's best for your situation. And you've done the work on you. You've kind of figured it all out.
I do not feel wrong with telling any stepmom out there, you always do what's best for you. Once you've done the work, because if you're listening to a podcast for stepmoms, that means you are trying to figure something out. You're trying to find a group of people to identify with. You're looking for help, for experts. And so I'm an expert that's always going to tell you, because I know you're a woman that's already working, a person that's already working on themselves. I'm going to tell you, keep yourself as a number one priority. Not your partner, not your damn kids, certainly not your partner's kids. Keep yourself as a priority and keep yourself at the center of it all. And you'll find yourself being able to be a whole, well person. I'm working on pronouns, y'all. I'm so sorry for flubbing. I'm working on being inclusive, as our girl Beth. Shout out to Beth, the inclusive stepmom.
Yes.
You asked me 4 questions, and I think I only answered 1 because I got off in the personality disorder tangent. But once I guess if you ask yourself, what's the reason that a high conflict bio mom is high conflict? Honey, she ain't just a high conflict bio mom. She's a high conflict sister, girlfriend, wife, co-worker, employee. I promise you're not the only person in this person's existence that experiences conflict from them. I don't know if that doesn't. I don't think that probably made anybody feel better. But just know that you're not alone. She's giving everybody hell. It's not.
I think that's such a good point.
Special. You're not that special that she's honing in and focusing on you. She has a pathology of broken relationships and leaves a breadcrumb. She leaves breadcrumbs of conflict and disaster wherever she goes. It ain't just you, girl.
That is so true. That's so true. That's so true. One
Yeah.
of the things, we were talking about making yourself a priority. And I think that that is something that I see so many stepmothers struggling with. And I know I struggled with it at first too. You may have also, like, when you get into a situation, you've got 3 stepkids, I've got 4 stepkids, you're a
Mm.
new wife, new stepmom, and you're trying to do all the things and you're trying to do it all perfect and, be there for the kids and be there for your spouse and all of this stuff. And you wake up and, 6 months down the road or a year down the road and you realize that, like, you're getting sick, you're not taking care of yourself, you
Hmm.
have totally moved yourself to the back burner.
Yeah.
How do you tell stepmoms to reset that and to actually kind of make themselves a priority? Because it's easy to say to do it, but like I do, it's hard to actually do it.
Yeah. So first thing you said, getting sick, and a lot of us, like, I didn't make up this term. I think I did, but I don't have any proof. Like, suffer from post traumatic stepmom disorder, and we find ourselves filled with anxiety. Like, you break out in
Mhm.
hives when you know the kids are coming, or your heart starts beating real fast when your partner's phone rings because you think it's about to be drama. Those are forms of anxiety, which is the most diagnosed form of mental illness in the United States.
Mhm.
And,
Absolutely.
when I think of getting sick, I think of these emotional changes that we start seeing. And then they matriculate into physical issues, ulcers, tumors, God forbid, even worse stuff than that. And so if you see that you're starting to feel imbalanced, I don't want you to sit in a place and say, oh, I'm going to go take some pills for my anxiety. I highly advocate getting help and getting treated first and foremost. But I know that pills aren't going to fix the long-term issue. They're going to just be a treatment. Therapy is also a great way to start working out your issues. But the first thing that you can do is say, and one of my clients, I'm blessed with some amazing clients. One of my clients mentioned to me yesterday, she won't mind me sharing this. She was like, I don't think my partner has much respect for himself. I don't think he has a lot of self-respect. And I was like, oh, I was like, ouch. And she started breaking it down as to why. She said, because if they did, they wouldn't allow the baby mama to do this or their kids to do this or in other areas of their lives. And then I was like, I had to go and Google. I was like, let me look at the definition of self-respect. And I said, the first thing, and I would like to just appeal to the people listening today. How do you define self-respect? What does you receiving respect from the people around you look like? If you are a person that you're finding, once you start defining it and you're like, wow, I'm not embracing my self-respect. I'm not accepting that. I'm not welcoming that because I'm allowing these things to happen. And yes, I did say allowing because I firmly believe that I don't want us to look at ourselves as victims. I'm not a victim. You're not a victim. You might have been in the position of a victim, but I don't live in victim land. I've had some awful
Mhm.
things happen to me from some awful people, but I'm no longer their victim because I made the decision to eject myself from that space. And so
Yep,
I would just say,
absolutely.
number one, look at how you define self respect. And if you can look at yourself and be like, damn, I've been kind of lacking in the self respect area, then that's something that, that's where you can first start doing the work. And a
Mhm.
lot of us will find that we've been so accustomed to being small and minimized and disrespected and being made to feel like our voices, they don't really matter because we don't have a say so anyway. A lot of us have kind of fallen in that pattern, and that's why you're sick, girl. That's why you feel with anxiety. You can't even look yourself in the mirror because you're not proud of yourself anymore because you don't recognize yourself. So I would first say, sit and define and even write out, sketch out what does self-respect mean to me? Do I have it? How have I let go of it? How have I given my power away?
I love that. Reclaim your power. I love that so much of what you focus on is really, there are all these external factors that we're dealing with, but really it's about dealing with the internal stuff.
Mm,
And then you can tackle whatever comes your way,
yes,
right?
you can tackle it like a champion because
Yeah.
the power comes from within. It,
Yeah,
it
you've got the
it
power.
truly does, and I'm sounding all zen right now, but I'm I'm in such a zen space. Like, people are going to try to take your power every single day. If you are a woman, listen to this. If you're a minority, if you're a double minority, if you are a person that is not decided, somebody out there is trying to take your power. And there are systems that are set up in place for you to already feel disempowered. And so, I wake up every day in a space of, number one, thanking God for breathing, just for waking me up. Next, I say, God, how can I serve today? Then I'm in a place of just gratefulness that I recognize my own strength and my own power. I did
That's a
not
great place to
5,
be.
6 years ago. I didn't. And it was literally because stepmom stuff made me feel so small and unimportant and confused.
Mhm.
And now,
And I think
yeah,
there are a lot of stepmoms that are nodding their heads at home, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Naja, this is so great. I could talk to you forever, but
Thank you for having me.
this was wonderful. I really appreciate you joining us, and
you.
we'll have to do this again because I feel like there's still so much out there. We could just go on forever. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much.
For having me. I appreciate you. And shout out to everybody out there listening. I pray that something I said has resonated with your soul. And even if it doesn't impact you today, I hope it etches itself somewhere in your DNA. And if it does, make sure you shout me out on social media.
I love it. We'll give you lots of shout outs. Thank you so much, Naja.
Thank you, Cameron.
That's it for this week. If you've enjoyed our chat, I hope you'll help spread the word. Share this episode with friends and head on over to wherever you listen to podcasts and leave me a review. And don't forget, for more great stepmom content, head on over to thiscustomlife.com and follow me on social media. Just search This Custom Life on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. Until next time, you keep being you and know that we are in this together. See you here next week.